the number one priority is not your business. Number one priority is not calming your nerve. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. It's not calming your nervous system at all. Your number one priority is understanding you, understanding self, getting to the root of why you're pushing. When you're in flow, you cannot get anything wrong. When you are out of flow, you cannot get anything right. What I'm going to share with you today is by far my biggest personal lesson in growing my business, but also energy spills over, so into life as well. If you feel like you are pushing to make things work, if you're full of frustration or anxiety, then you're in the right place. Stick around because I'm going to share a little bit about my background, how working that way almost killed me. And then over the last 2.5 years, I've been doing the healing. And when I say healing, I don't mean just meditating and going to cacao ceremonies, although there's nothing wrong with those things, but healing and understanding the complete me, understanding why I'm pushing the way that I am. Where were these insecurities coming from? And when I look back, the reason why I was pushing wasn't even the real me. It was the fake me. And you can see, and I think a lot of people live their entire lives being the fake versions of themselves. And here's what happened. I spent years, and I do respect how hard I worked, the hustle. I was able to make money along the way. But we start to realize, what am I doing all this for? And why am I pushing this way? I'm angry, even though I wasn't angry at other people. I'm frustrated. I seem to be attracting the type of people which enable that behavior. And I'm not listening to the people which are saying, Pete, at what cost are you doing this for? I actually remember sitting down with a career advisor going back a long time, and I was in this mentality, I'm going to push, I'm going to hustle, and going to make my business work. And she said, cool, at what cost? What are you sacrificing in order for that to happen? And I took it as a super negative comment. I walked out of there, I was pissed off that anyone would even dare say that. And she was right. All these years later, I don't know what she's doing now. I don't remember her name, but she was absolutely right. I was pushing at the expense of who I was. And when we look at working from flow, I'm not saying that we become lazy and do nothing, although that's been a big part of my healing over the last couple of years. I went through a big phase where I'm like, I just don't want to do anything. And that's what I did, because I just needed to rest on a super deep level, because years and years of pushing got me into a position where even though I'd made money, every time I made money, it always went. And the business was doing well. For a small business, I don't consider my business to be a multi-million-dollar company, but we'd done $1 million with one product. Over a few years, we'd done $1 million with one product, and the business was, we had staff, and it was great. And and I've still got great clients today that have been with me through all of this journey. So I'm not saying that it's all negative. That's what we need to realize, is that we can't separate things. There is no separation. There is one unified experience. And when we try to separate, well, when I was that person before, I was so wrong. Well, no, you did lots of things right. So even right now, if you feel like you're burnt out or exhausted, or you just feel that you're pushing too much and it shouldn't be this way, something feels off, you're very likely still doing, and I don't think people talk about this enough, you're very likely still doing many things exactly right. So I want you to know that, yeah? You're, maybe 90% of what you're doing is right. But the problem is that 10% is impacting the 90%. And for me, even though that I was doing a lot of things right, and in many ways I was doing more things than I do now, which were the right things. But at the same time, when you're out of flow, everything, there's insects everywhere here. It's early this morning, so I'm out for an early walk, but I'm being attacked by multiple animals. But the point is that it doesn't matter how many things that you do, if you're working out of flow and you feel like you're coming from a place of forcing it. Imagine any relationship in life. If you're forcing the relationship to work, and this goes on for months, for years, would you want to continue that relationship? You try everything and it's not working. would you want the relationship to go on another 10 years? Probably not. Yeah, people do. And I link this back to sales. For me, in order to sell, you need to be in flow. If you're going to be able to sit down with a client, inspire them, empower them, ask questions that make them think, or if you're going to do YouTube videos, not that I'm an expert on YouTube, but I'm here and I'm doing my thing. And with my YouTube videos, I used to be forcing them. And that's why it never lasted. And even if I got views, I would burn out. Because as I was doing the video, I would feel frustrated, I would feel angry. And my mum actually watched some of my videos and she said, "Are you angry?" I said, "What do you mean, am I angry?" She said, "I don't know, I'm your mum. I feel like when I watch your videos, your voice is angry. I can hear an anger in your voice." And yet again, I was in denial. I said, "No, that's just me. I'm pushing and I'm wanting to inspire people, but there's that word again. I'm pushing to make it work." I need to get across a very busy road here. It is rush hour and everybody right now is going to work. It's something I didn't think of before I left, but we're going to get across and go down this quiet street over here and not take a moment. But I'll continue to share the story about my mum, and she said, "Son, just chill, like nobody's going to stick around, nobody's going to listen to you because they're going to feel that you're angry in your videos." And I said, okay, fine, I'll try it. And I was at a point where, I'd had enough, and that's when I started to calm down on my videos, and sure enough, I didn't suddenly get loads. This is not a hack for views, right? And what I learned was that you can't see it as a technique. You're not suddenly going to do videos and calm them down or pretend to be in flow, but it was the start of a journey. Sometimes a technique can help you, but it wasn't the ultimate answer. The ultimate answer, finally we can get a spot here. Let's cross over, there we go. It's a funny thing about this road. There's either zero traffic or you can't get across for 10 minutes. But that was just 30 seconds. And that would have made me angry before. The funny thing is that when I was forcing videos, that little situation, I would have stopped the entire video. Just being super open with you. I would have stopped the entire video. I would have been pissed off at all the traffic, not their fault. And I would have said, for fuck's sake, I'm trying to do these videos and there's traffic, it's too noisy. But over the last 2.5 years that I've lived here in Thailand, and I've had to be very conscious of the work. I continue to do it. I still get anxiety symptoms. I still have to, and they are literally my GPS for life, for emotions. I used to try and get rid of the symptoms, but then I'm like, no, the symptoms are my nervous system is doing its job perfectly. Now I actually need to get around this little busy section here. Yeah, my nervous system isn't broken. My nervous system is doing its job perfectly. It's telling me, what the fuck are you doing? Calm down, Pete. So, over the last 2.5 years, one of the things that I started to notice was that I became a bit more, that's the only word I've got for it, unfuckable with. And things like, if I was seeing a girl and it didn't work out, or I really liked her and then, it didn't work out, obviously before that would really bother me. Or if I was seeing someone and they annoyed me, they would really annoy me, and I'd be like, "Ugh." Yeah. Or the same with money, right? Any money situation, tax bill, whatever, everything used to bother me. But then I started to notice about a year ago, it started about a year ago, and so I went through some stuff to get to that point. But I'm like, wow, nothing's really bothering me. And I call it being unfuckable with. Just nothing really bothers me. And if I'm around somebody who's annoying, I went out for a dinner a few nights ago, I won't say where or who, but there's a few people at dinner, and one of the people there was a classic personality type that would have triggered me before. They were just an annoying person. Some people are like that. But I just sat there and smiled and observed. I'm like, well, this is cool. And what it started with was observing my own reactions and responses, my own emotional triggers. And I started to establish that I'm not my thoughts. And I knew, this is the funny thing, I've known all this for 20 years. I've studied this stuff for 20 years, but I wasn't living it, right? Not fully. You know, you're either living it or you're not. There's no in between. And I started to establish I'm not my thoughts, I'm not even my emotions. And so I started to be able to create a little bit of separation between my thoughts and emotions. And the cool thing about that was that the more you practice it, and I didn't even realize this at the time, but the more I was practicing, the better I got at detaching from my reactions. And I could just observe it and say, wow, look, you know, I'm pissed off now, or I'm angry now, let me go this way. I'm pissed off now, I'm angry now, that's interesting. And then I became fascinated at my frustration. Like, wow, why am I frustrated? And then I get to the root of it. And it takes time. Oh, this is cool, I've never walked through here before. Just down the road from my apartment, and turn this around. So this is clearly a little market area. Be open later. I'm just trying to avoid traffic, to be fair. Not that it'll make me angry, I'm not even 1% now. There's that little train that goes around here or something. So bring this back to the context. I talk about business, I talk about sales, that's mostly what my channel is about, but it's my business. I changed the name to Peaceful Sales and Consulting. By the way, if you're not a part of my community yet, you can see below, you can join the community. I talk about this stuff every single day, and we do a monthly workshop. The community is growing, so it's great fun. And but also as well, of course, if you're not hit the subscribe button, make sure you hit the subscribe button. But I want to go back to you as we start to summarize the video, right? Or this message. Are you working from a place of flow, or are you working from a place of force? Because it doesn't matter how much you try, what you're going to do is push things even further away the more you force it. And that means you've truly got to sit with the emotion, be calm. I'm very lucky that I was in a position that I could relocate to the other side of the world. Feel that at the time living in England was literally killing me because I had so many symptoms. I went to about 20 doctors. They're like, your blood tests are perfect, you're fine. I recently had a full health check here actually, and everything came back fine. High cortisol because I'm still healing. Like 2.5 years later, I am still healing. It's a daily commitment. You've got to be all in on this thing. You have to be. So anyways, I was lucky that I was able to come out here and change my life this way. I was meant to be going back to the UK later this year. I recently told my family and my clients, I'm like, listen, I'm not ready. I'm going to stay here in Thailand. Unless there's an emergency, there's always a reason to go back, but I'm going to stay in this part of the world. So I get that I'm lucky to be able to do this, right? But at the same time, wherever you're at, the number one priority is not your business. The number one priority is number one priority is not calming your nerves. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. It's not calming your nervous system at all. Your number one priority is understanding you, understanding self, getting to the root of why you're pushing. And I can't believe we're 13 minutes in, I'm only just talking about this. I was able, through observing my own thoughts, my own emotions, my own motives, like why am I doing this? Like what's behind it? That was just purely to prove a point from 20 years ago, 30 years ago, prove a point to my dad, prove a point to my family, prove a point to everybody. Because I'm the one kid in my family, I'm the one family member who doesn't have a degree. I don't have any degrees, I don't have any academic background, and my family got 1-2 degrees each. You know, they eat degrees for breakfast, and they've all got their mortgages paid off. They did everything that way, and so I didn't. I got in tons of debt, and went and worked on cruise ships for like 10 years. So, you know, I realize now, I'm like, oh, okay, I was just trying to get love from my family. All I wanted to hear, and they did say it, but all I wanted to hear was, I'm proud of you, yeah? And I tried to prove it in a bunch of different ways. I talk about this in other videos, but actually, the only way I've been able to even observe this in myself is to be 7,000 miles away. I wondered why I always used to joke that I feel more at home when I'm overseas. England was the only place, or the UK was the only place I didn't feel at home. And more recently, as I've done this healing, I've been very lucky that my parents are both still alive and together, 52 years married, so I'm super lucky there. And I've built a much better relationship with them. They're going to come out here later this year, which is nice. Well, they keep saying they're going to come out here, but I think that later this year they're going to head out here. And as a result, I've got better clients. I'm not worried about, is the business going to make all this money, but somehow the business makes enough money, and I'm not worried about it. But before, everything was a drama, everything. So this isn't really my usual topic, but I guess it is, because I have changed the name to Peaceful Sales and Consulting, and this is a part of it. Okay, I've rambled enough for today. Let me know your thoughts below. Thank you for watching. See you tomorrow.